One of the features of the project that you're linked to is the potential for parents to get more involved in research. And the two questions that we've been dealing with, how do we learn more about encouraging parents to be involved in the child's development, and how do we overcome some of the social and emotional difficulties that children experience, are ones that parents will be able to make a contribution to, not just as parents, but also as co-researchers. I think the reason that projects of this sort are particularly interesting to the wider research community, and particularly the commissioners of research, is that when parents get involved, they bring a wealth of lived experience of the sort that researchers do not have. Over the years, I've been fortunate to become associated with parents and hopefully learnt more about their lived experience. But as a novice researcher, even as a postdoctoral researcher, I wasn't even a parent, let alone a parent of a child with disabilities or special needs. So in many ways, a lot of research may be knowledgeable, but it's paper knowledge. It's knowledge they've got from reading books, from reading other research projects, or it's come from whatever research they've done with maybe a small cohort of families. So what we need to have, I would argue, is the opportunity for greater connectivity into the lived experience. Parents also, of course, offer us many opportunities to get linked into other networks. Those networks are often not academic networks, they may not even be professional networks, but they may be networks in the world of business, for example, because mothers will be working with big corporations or not big corporations. There's the social networks that come through church groups, for example, or through their leisure activities in the gyms that they're associated with. So there is the potential for research, therefore, to infiltrate into the wider social networks of society in a way that academic researchers have failed to do, largely because the way the system is set up. But people who pay for research, mostly governments, big corporations, or international agencies like the UN agencies, want to know, how is research impacting on what happens in the way in which society orders itself for the services that people are provided with? What's the impact of research? That's become a big topic for Western governments in particular, led by chancellors of the exchequer or finance ministers, wondering where this £50 billion that the UK spends on research, what to return to the UK taxpayer in terms of the impact of that research. Parents are a way in which we can start to demonstrate impact. And likewise, we have the whole issue about how to change practice that makes it much more user appropriate and user friendly. And engaging with parents is one of the best ways of actually trying to identify the types of changes that are needed. The way in which parents can get engaged, of course, are many and varied. They've been growing, in my experience, over the last decade or so, because we've come from a point with very little engagement, parents in research, to a point where there are very good examples now of how parents have been involved in research. One of the first ways is by having parents as research informants, either through focus groups or through interviews. We can hear it firsthand from parents what their experiences are. And that's, in my estimation, has happened over the last, in my career anyway, has happened over the last 40 years. Now, that seems a long time in some ways, but remember, before that, it was only professionals' views and opinions that were sought. Even the people most affected weren't actually often consulted at the research. But even then, a lot of research is still done with very little involvement of the people on whom the research is aimed at helping. Many research projects have what they call steering groups. Wise people, it hopes, able to guide the research and to give the researcher some tips, hints, guidance on how they might proceed with their research and avoid some of the common pitfalls. My experience tells me that by having some parents as members of those groups does enrich those discussions very greatly, and therefore more and more research funding bodies are looking to have what they call patient professional involvement in their steering groups. I'm involved in a number of projects where we've had parents as co-researchers. They were the ones who were helping design questionnaires, running focus groups, and so on. Or if we were developing training materials or producing reports, they were very much to the fore in co-producing how those materials would be presented and how they were, the content of them. That leads into their involvement in dissemination and training, so that instead of the researcher going talking about the results of the projects or doing training courses, it was parents who were actually able to take the floor and present the findings and to answer the questions, the sort of ones that you've been asking me, but leaving them to put their particular slant and orientation on it. Actually, two other developments have come to the fore. In some of the research councils now in the United Kingdom, there will be people who will be involved in assessing the funding application as to its applicability and its impact. And those can be parents of people with disability if that's appropriate to the particular topic that's underway. And that's another way in which commissioners can assure themselves that the team doing this project would have the respect and trust of the people assessing their application, because they're the people, the parents with lived experience. And you find parents taking their place on ethics and governance committees, which oversee how research is done and the safeguards that need to be included in the research. So there's a range of opportunities for parents to be involved in research, and there may well be groups of parents who can conduct their own research. They don't need other university-trained researchers to do research. That may be something that will come in the future. For now, I don't find that happens a great deal. But when I tell you that we're also been involving people with intellectual disability as co-researchers, and some of those have gone on to form their own research consultancy companies, albeit modest scale, they are being commissioned now to do some evaluations of projects and research projects. So people with intellectual disability who won't have any formal academic qualifications have been shown to be active and plausible researchers. So if they can do it, then others can as well. So how do you prepare the